just going to sit like this for the next
That'll be fine. For me.
You did say it was a blank canvas.
Yeah. It is, yeah. Blank canvas. And I'll talk more about that in a bit. But again, it's come from the reading that I've been doing over the course of the last week, and a particular book that I'm working my way through. Whilst there's a lot of mindfulness in it, but it also talks a lot about a fuller practice of meditation. But there were some really interesting bits that I had been reading at the time that prompted me to come up with blank canvas as a topic. But yeah, we'll explore that in a minute. We don't want to peak too soon. But we'll start off with an exercise, and we'll do something a little different, because this was something that was in the book, and I tried it myself, and it's interesting. It was different. It was different to what we normally do, so I thought, we'll give it a go and see how it works out. So it's related to the the exercise that we often do, where we engage the senses, and maybe we'll do that in a bit anyway. But this one is purely focused on vision. So what I'd like you to do is to obviously start by opening your eyes. So that's a good start. And then you have to. It's best if you look upwards. So look upwards, and you pick a spot. Pick something to fix your awareness on, fix your gaze on. Keep your attention on that spot, and then over the course of the next few moments, allow your awareness to encompass what's in your peripheral vision. So you maintain your focus on the single spot, but gradually you allow yourself to become aware of your peripheral vision and your vision spreading out. And it may go quite wide, it may not go very wide at all, but we'll just try that for the next few moments. As always, if your mind wanders, just bring it back to focus in this moment. Quite difficult. How do you find? It's hard. You've got. I find it difficult because there's two things that happen. One, you get the image imprinted, and there's I'm looking back up on my spot again. The image becomes imprinted, and also as you relax, everything starts to blur in it. So it's quite hard to maintain that focus, but and extend it out. What did you?
That was quite good, yeah.
You quite like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I could see him blinking even though I was looking over there. I couldn't
Really?
see you though, yeah.
All right. Yeah.
I
Could
was
you see me blinking?
Yeah, I could see you blinking from. I was looking at the white iris.
Yeah. I suppose it's interesting because you tend
That's
to
a
be
wide
quite,
peripheral.
you tend to be
my
quite
eyes got-
tunnel vision, don't you, in what you see, and you just sort of in a box. But I think if you do allow it to externate, you can be aware of a lot around a point.
If you just stop, it's amazing how much you can take in from around you and how much you can actually see. But as you say, normally you don't bother, you just focus on one thing, don't you?
You do.
I was waiting for you to say, when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
I was wondering what to take in. You know, sounds or just sight, or how much to go out.
But you can play with that then, can't you? If you practice that in your own moments,
Yeah.
you can try and just see just how far you can allow it to spread out.
Without moving your eyes.
Yeah, well that's it. Yeah, because that. Yeah, you do. You want. You
Hard
can't
not to blink as well, I found.
Yeah, that's why I was blinking.
You do because it will stop. Sometimes it will blur a little, and you have to just recalibrate.
Did you get the draft, or did you actually see
Do what?
the draft from my blinking?
Does it make a difference if you're somewhere where you know or somewhere that you don't know?
That is an interesting question. Probably does because you would make, you know.
You can make sense of
Funny how you were more
sort of
vision.
familiar.
Yeah,
Couldn't
because of the things
It
that you
might
know
be-
are there
that's
from
right.
previous
It might be
experience.
quite different if you're somewhere that you've got no idea.
Okay. Well, there's your homework.
Thank you very much.
You have to go
I
somewhere
will
you've
learn
never
to
been.
keep my mouth shut.
You report back from
I can
trying
do that.
somewhere that you're unfamiliar with and tell
I
us.
can do that. No
Tell us how
problem.
you
There's a
found
similar one where you look at a rose and you focus on the rose. You don't look at peripheral vision, you just look at an object. And you look at its texture and you look at, you know, the features and the colours and the shadows and the shapes and just focus just on one item. And it's really,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like a candle, though, isn't it?
they called it
Yes.
the heart of the rose
Yeah.
technique or something
Is
like
it?
that, yeah.
Is it like what we're doing there? Is it like when they say contemplating one's navel? You're just concentrating on one thing. Not necessarily.
Well,
you know,
it's about awareness. You know, we've talked on more than one occasion about the fact that we are not our thoughts. That is not us. We have thoughts, but they are not us. You know, the guy that wrote the book that I've been reading, I was watching him on a YouTube video. Sandy Newbigging, his name is, to give him his credit for the purpose of the tape. And he was stood in front of an audience, and he started with the question: how do you know you have a mind? How do you know that you have a mind? And various people came back and said, well, because I have thoughts, or I have feelings, I have ideas about things. You know, I am aware of it. I'm aware of my mind, so that's how I know I have one. And he says,
you know that all those things come from the mind.
well, maybe they don't. But what he went on to say is, well, in that case, then there are two things that have been identified. One is mind, and the other is awareness of that mind. And they're separate. You know, it's not your mind being aware of itself. That awareness is another element of your being. That's kind of the true essence of you. Just that awareness, because you can be aware of your thoughts. You know, were you here when I was talking about the sky and thoughts and ideas being like birds flying through the sky?
No, last week wasn't it?
Right. You know, if your mind is like the sky, birds can fly across the sky, and they're like your thoughts. And that's all they are. They come into your mind and then they come out of your mind. And you can be aware of them. You can watch them happen. They are not you, they are just things that temporarily pass through
Noise.
your mind. The part that is really you is that awareness of those happenings. And so an exercise like that is just about connecting with that awareness. No, do you know what I mean? So it's not.
It's a strange concept,
Yeah,
because being aware of it, what is awareness? What is it? I mean, well, I'll explain that if I can. The mind is your brain, and we know that.
Yeah.
We know that to be
Yeah,
because of what's been learnt and read.
yeah.
But awareness,
It sits above that.
who can define that?
Well, that's it, and that's kind of the. I suppose that's the magical quality. You know, what is it to be alive? You know, you can't identify that. The scientists have not been able to go, here it is. This is
No.
this is the essence. This is life in this test tube, and that aliveness for us certainly is absolutely connected with that awareness. You know, the fact that we are aware of things that we can see, things that we can touch, things that we can feel, thoughts that we can have, feelings that we can have. It's that awareness which is the real us. Everything else is just stuff that happens to us, stuff that happens within us. But it isn't us. The awareness is who you really are. You know, it's like, you know, you're not defined by your thoughts. Just because one day you are maybe having negative thoughts doesn't mean you're a negative person, because, you know, it's quite possible that the following day you can have blissful, happy thoughts. You know, and you are aware of the changes in those thoughts. You're aware of the difference between happy thoughts and sad thoughts, because your awareness is unaffected by those. Your awareness is unchanging. That's the constant. That's the real you. And so all of these exercises are really just about enabling you to connect with that awareness, so you realise that you are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. They are just these transient things that happen. Actually, the real you is something much bigger and much more profound and much more unmoving and consistent, if you know what I mean. You know, and that awareness is seated in the present moment. That awareness exists purely in this present moment. You know, you can't be aware of the past. You can only be, that awareness is only now, and it's connected with your aliveness. Which leads me on to the idea of blank canvas. So if I am an artist, and I suppose I could say I am an artist, I studied art, and when you start off with a blank canvas, or a blank sheet of paper, or if you're a writer, you start off with an empty sheet of paper. And then onto that, out of that, you know, you would create your artwork, or you would write your words onto that blank page and create whatever it is that you're creating. So at the beginning of everything is this emptiness. For there to be a painting, there has to be this blank canvas as a starting point. And the same is true for sound. You know, what is the blank canvas for sound? Silence. You can't have sound without silence. The silence is the background. Out of that, sound emerges.
But only if you've got gases.
Pardon?
Only if you've got gases.
Only if you've got, well, yeah, of course, yeah, you know,
sound.
within a
Yeah,
vacuum.
sound in a vacuum.
So you need an ingredient.
straightforward, isn't it?
Well,
Sorry, did I mess up your concept?
for the moment, let's just
put that
keep
to
it,
one side.
confined to this planet.
Oh,
And the fact that
don't spoil it.
in this present moment, our awareness is seated within, the confines of our atmosphere and our planet. So silence is that blank canvas. It's the from which sound can emerge. Sound cannot happen without silence. What about movement? Stillness. So there has to be stillness for there to be movement. So underlying, everything, you could extend the metaphor, for there to be things that you see, objects that you see. There either has to be, what would it be? Would it be darkness, or would it be just a purity of light? I don't know. Either. But either way, there's something underlying it out of which that emerges.
Well, they say black is the absence of light, don't they?
Yeah. So.
But we regard it as a colour. You've got a black pair of jeans, they've got no light on them. I don't know, it's a weird one.
You could use it the opposite way. You could say light comes from dark, or silence comes from sound.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
You could present that, but
So we've got.
I would disagree.
Not outside of the room.
So we've gone from blank canvas to full ticket.
If we think about mindfulness, if we are sat being mindful, what are the what are the things that we are aware of? When you connect with, you get that when we sit and we're mindful, and you get to that level, don't you, where it starts to feel quite nice. What are the overriding impressions that you get? Does it feel busy and noisy?
Nothingness.
Yeah. So there's a nothingness.
Absolutely.
There's a stillness.
Yeah.
There's a silence to it.
You stop being able to feel your body.
Yeah.
When you get right down to it, you can get to nothing.
Yeah. And that's it. So that I'm saying about the raw, that almost that base element, that starting point, the silence out of which sounds emerge, the stillness out of which movement and activity emerges, is what you can connect with when you're mindful. When we sit and we just breathe, in that pause between breaths, when the body is still, when you're not breathing in or breathing out, and when your mind is still, there is that almost overwhelming feeling of stillness. I suppose we often have a mindful moment when we're confronted with a particularly beautiful scene. If you go out into nature and all of a sudden you turn a corner, it's just this fantastic vista, and you're lost for words. There's no words to describe what you can see. You just have that moment when you just think, and then everything feels still and calm. And it's that. And that's what you can connect with through mindfulness. You are able to take it back to the blank canvas. Because all of the stuff that happens on top of that, all of the movement, all of the sound, all of the activity, all of the stuff, all of the... We were talking about the mind, we were talking about thoughts and ideas. Without those, they come out of an emptiness, don't they? When you do achieve that very calm state through a bit of mindful meditation, when the thoughts do disappear and subside, and calm down, and you connect with that stillness of mind. Again, you become aware of that kind of blank canvas, out of which the thoughts and the ideas actually do emerge. And as we know, it's all of that sound activity, mental activity, that gets in the way of being mindful. You know, that's what can cause so much anxiety and emotion. You know, that's what our mind connects with as being our story, and we get bound up in our story, and we connect so much with our story that we don't actually allow our awareness to just rest and sit in that silent stillness, out of which all of that emerges. So what we'll do now is we'll do a little, we've done some seeing, we'll do some hearing now, some listening. And what I'd like you to do, so you may close your eyes if you wish. I would like you to bring your awareness to sound. And I'd like you to just be aware of the silence. And even when, and this may sound difficult, or this may sound contradictory, but even when sound is happening, just be aware of the underlying silence. Because there is, even though sound is happening, underneath that, there is a silence out of which it springs. So just for the next few moments, just focus on sound, be aware of sound. If your mind wanders, bring it back to listening. But at all times, keep an awareness of that underlying silence. So I invite the bowl to sound. As the bowl sounds, be aware of the fact that that resonance is emanating out of a silence. Even beneath the sound of the bowl, there is silence.
Difficult.
It's hard. It's not easy. No. I'm sure it takes practice. You get glimpses of it. I find.
Found it at the start easier actually. The longer we went on, the harder it was.
Yeah. Because that's what it layers out.
Yeah.
But ultimately, underneath everything there is that stillness, and that's the same with our awareness. At the heart of our being is that very still, silent awareness that is then distracted by the things that emerge from it. And the other thing that came out of this reading that I've been doing.
Don't read that book for next week, Jim.
No, I've got a great one lined up for next week. Roger Red Hat. And then after that, there's one about a lady called Jennifer, which I'll be reading shortly after that one. and then their friend Billy. I think it's Billy as well.
Billy Blue,
That's
absolutely.
So within, as we know, the only moment that exists is this moment, and our awareness is always within this moment, and yet we are pulled into the past and the future. But how do we experience the future or the past? How do we experience the past? Memories. So we remember something, we remember an experience. But what is a memory?
It's just how you stored it. It's not necessarily accurate.
It's just a
It's your
thought.
interpretation.
It's just an idea. It's just a thought within your head. And the future, when we think, I've given it away. When we think about the future, when we experience what we believe will happen in the future, how do we experience the future? Through thoughts, through thoughts and ideas. So,
but memory is actually, there is some talk of memory being potentially passed on in what do you call it?
Genes. Yeah.
potentially.
Some instincts they believe are passed on.
There has been research where they have identified sound waves trapped, still vibrating within the fabric of buildings. Within this building, sounds that happened within this building potentially hundreds of years ago were still vibrating at a very low level within
bulb, for example,
within the walls.
That's a classic.
That
I love that.
a long time after you've struck
It does.
and
But
it goes and it comes back again sometimes. It oscillates in and out.
But you can only experience that sound in the moment, in this moment now. And similarly, if we were to say, there are sound vibrations still happening in these walls from however many years ago, for us to detect those, for us to be able to be aware of those sounds, we can only be aware of them in this moment.
Do you suppose that it's that can make a building feel good or bad?
Oh, I'm sure it probably can do, and I'm sure that,
I don't know, but whenever I step into an old church, I feel peaceful. Any old church will do. I don't need to know it.
It may be, yeah, it may be.
Can it give off those sort of...
I'm sure it probably can. I'm sure it,
It's an interesting thought, isn't it?
Energy doesn't disappear.
No.
Energy can't be created and disappear. It's only transferred from one state to another.
Yeah.
And possibly back again from sound into
exactly.
heat into.
But that's it. Light turns into heat, turns back into light, turns into sound, and it just goes around. So there's no and it can become latent energy. It can just be stored up. it could quite feasibly be that there is historical sounds contained within this building still vibrating that we could pick up on, but that's not us travelling through time.
No.
You know, if I could press my ear to it and listen, the only way I could experience it and be aware of it is to be aware of it in this moment. Even if it is, well, I mean, it's light. You know, that's how scientists look back in time. There is because they look at the light that's been travelling for millions and millions of light years, and they're seeing a planet as it was, however many millions and millions of years ago. But they are only able to be aware of it and to experience it in this moment. You know, in terms of our ability to experience different times, experience the past or experience the future, we can only experience it through thoughts or ideas in our head.
And what are thoughts and ideas?
Exactly. They are not us.
But they're physical, electrical impulses, aren't they? Stored between the synapses or some pathway.
They are. But is that you going back in time, or do you experience that? Is your awareness of those memories in this moment? It is. If I were to sit and think about what happened yesterday, I don't go back to yesterday.
No.
I'm here now in this moment, aware of thoughts in my head in this moment that are my memory, my thoughts and ideas of what happened yesterday.
We may have been at the same event and totally different.
Well, maybe. But what that goes to illustrate is that the past and the future don't exist. They only exist. We only make them exist as thoughts and ideas. And thoughts are these transient things that come and go. They are not. That is not us experiencing any other moment than this moment. You know, this moment now is the only moment that we can experience, that we can be aware of, without generating thoughts and ideas.
But we need thoughts, and I'll give you for instance.
I'm not saying we don't.
Yeah, no, sure. Let's say you're not well, or someone's not well. Let's say I'm not well, and so I need my thoughts and my experience to say I'm not well. I'm going to go to the doctors.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So we don't have to.
But they're useful.
We've learnt to draw and use those things to say.
Right, yes.
Yes.
An example would be I had kidney stones many years ago. When I had them a second
Please don't mention kidneys.
When I had them a second time, I knew exactly what they were straight away. But the first time I had them, I was freaking out, I was dying.
Yeah.
Second time, I know what that is. I
Right.
still felt I was dying, but at least I'm kind of
Okay, and your awareness of those kidney stones, how did that awareness take place?
with pain.
But it took place in the present moment.
Ow.
It was now. Yes, it prompted a memory that we'd learned from, that enabled us to act in an appropriate way, respond in an appropriate way to make, enable us to get the help that we needed. And
Some of our thoughts are necessary. You need to hold some information.
Of course we do. Of course we do. I'm not, not for 1 second saying.
It's knowing what to get rid of.
That's it. I'm not for 1 second saying that the mind isn't an incredibly powerful and useful tool, and that our capacity to think is phenomenal, and we should embrace it and be able to utilise the power of our mind in this moment. But what happens is we think that we think that the past defines our story, and dictates who we are. We try to hold on to it. but you can't hold on to it. It just exists as electrical impulses in our brain. That's not what's happening now. It's not real. It's just it's just a vibration in a wall.
Allowing what happened in the past to program our present.
And in fact, the vibration in the wall is probably a more real thing than our thoughts and ideas about the past or the future. The only moment that we can be aware of, and be aware of in that very pure sense, as we were just talking about, where it's that stillness and that peace, is this moment right now. You can't experience any other moment other than that. If you do think you're experiencing it, you're just thinking it, and it's just thoughts, and it's not actually real.
It's funny, I was talking about silence again. There was a moment when you were speaking then, it just went very quiet outside, and I felt this growing silence, if that makes any sense. Yeah. The real, just it was looming up quite strongly that it was silent. Even though you were talking, I could feel the sense of silence.
That's it. So that's what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Underlying is that silence, and if you can begin to connect with that, then your ability to just be aware and just be alive is a lot easier, because you're taking it back to stripping everything away. Because we have a tendency to layer it up and add stuff. Gets in the way. Right, let's breathe. Because we know we can do that. That's not complicated. That's not.
It's a bit in the middle, in between the books. Sometimes it's quite hard to find that little 3 or 4 seconds, whatever it is.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sometimes your breathing's, the rhythmic is not there quite sometimes. You can't let it be.
It's funny, when in fact I did it today. I had a hypnotherapy client this morning, and I'd asked them to lay on the couch, and I'd started the induction, and I always get people to turn their awareness to their breath, just to get them, in the moment, makes them more receptive. And and it always happens, but their breathing changes. They'll go from either breathing quite quickly or unrhythmically. Is that a word?
Irregularly.
Can be if you want to.
Irregularly. That's a better word.
We know what you mean.
They may be breathing a little irregularly. There's a few short breaths, and then all of a sudden you say, just bring your awareness to your breath and just be aware of breathing in and breathing out. And the more, as you breathe, you relax, and all of a sudden it just switches. And all of a sudden you see it, and they go from it, and it being a bit, to just, when it steadies, and it becomes this smooth, like it becomes this smooth pendulum of breath. It's quite nice to see. Okay, so let's do that ourselves. So you may close your eyes if you wish. And turn your awareness to your breath. And for the next few moments, be aware of breathing in, breathing out, and then the pause between breaths. yourself to connect with that stillness in the pause. Just be aware of the silent stillness in that pause between breaths. And all you're doing is just being aware.
Thank you.